That's okay. I'm okay with that.
All right.
I don't need any prep. I'm pretty good at just jumping into it.
Gotcha. Whew. Good morning, Brittany.
Good morning, Rex.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Good.
All right. So I'm just gonna get right into it. So a little bit of background about you. You are a sober person.
I am.
You've been part of the sober community for how many years?
By the grace of God, May will be 6 years.
May will be 6 years, and in that time, you've created a community called the Phoenix in Tampa. Well, you didn't create the Phoenix.
Correct.
Gotcha. All right. So I guess we'll start over there with so for our viewers who don't know what the Phoenix is, could you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. The Phoenix is a national nonprofit that was founded back in 2006. Mm-hmm. It started in Boulder, Colorado, and it was not founded by me. Mm-hmm. Our founder, Scott Strode, he had been sober for many years, and he was trying the 12-step community, and it just wasn't really panning out for him. And he found his way into a boxing gym, and he realized the health and wellness side of it continued to help him stay sober, and that led to triathlons and rock climbing and mountain biking. And he realized every time he crossed a finish line or he got to the top of a mountain, he was much more of a human and a lot less an addict, and so formed this philosophy of the Phoenix, which is a sober, active community where we create and have all of these events completely for free to anybody that's 48 hours clean and sober. So it started in Colorado. It's taken a while to kind of manifest itself across the states. We are actually now international, which is really cool to say. Oh. And I had the privilege of starting the Tampa chapter, the Florida chapter here in 2018.
2018, so about almost 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Tell me about that journey. How did that start? Like the things that ran along the way. Did you immediately start with trying to create the Phoenix community, or did you just create a community and then adapt it to the Phoenix? Tell me a little bit
Sure.
about that.
So after I had gotten sober, I went through my whole rigmarole of trying to get back into the corporate world, and I was in corporate America working a really good job. I have my undergrad and my master's degree, and I was working my way back up the corporate ladder, but I wasn't happy. I was very unfulfilled. I don't have a personality to sit behind a desk. I never have, and I don't think I ever will. And so I knew that, I wanted something more. I also got back into fitness. I was an athlete for my entire youth, and I loved it. And I got back into fitness when I got sober. About 6 months after I got sober, I found CrossFit. And I literally put down a bottle and I picked up a barbell. And that's a big part of my story. So when I was in corporate America, I stumbled upon TED Talks. I'm sure you're familiar. I'm sure the viewers are familiar with TED Talks. Both of our founders, Scott Strode and Jackie Helios, have done TED Talks. And I stumbled upon it one day and I watched it, and everything in me said that I needed to be a part of this organization. No one in Florida or Tampa had really heard about it. And so I ventured out. At that time, I became a personal trainer. I got my CrossFit certification. I became a nutrition coach. And I just started knocking on the door of the Phoenix to bring it here in Tampa, all while at the same time there were conversations that were happening on a national level from some donors that were looking to invest to bring it to Tampa as well.
Oh, wow.
So I started as a volunteer, bringing it to my local gym, working with my gym owner to have a free class, and then that was through 2018, and then I became full-time paid staff on the Phoenix from January of 2019 since.
Oh, wow. So if you don't mind sharing, if you don't want to get too personal, it's okay, but your journey through, where you, before you got sober, how did that start, and kind of your backstory of how you arrived to today.
Yeah, so I don't know, whatever you want to call normal. I guess a normal childhood. 2 loving parents, and my dad struggled with alcohol. I believe alcoholism and addiction is a genetic disorder. I just truly believe that. I was an athlete, playing sports, being a tomboy, if you will. I grew up right here in Tampa, Florida, born and raised. And I didn't start with alcohol. I started with drugs when I was 15 years old.
Which ones?
I started with weed, smoking marijuana, and then I graduated to other substances and pills and, just the things. And alcohol never really took shape for me until I got into college and I was of drinking age. And then alcohol became my higher power, my master, if you will. And I loved it. I loved the way it made me feel, happy, sad. It took all emotions away from me. From a young age, I had, self-worth issues and self-image issues. And that was my story. So all through college, I drank. And I thought I drank like any other person. The people I surrounded myself with drank like me, and it was easy to blend in, be that chameleon that can just blend in anywhere. And I knew it was a problem in college, but I didn't care. I would joke about the fact that I was an alcoholic at a young age. Mm-hmm. And I went on drinking for many, many years. My father got sober around the time that I started drinking, and I was introduced to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, but didn't think anything of it and just went about my journey and my way. And when I was in corporate America, I missed work a lot. I took FMLA, I took short-term disability, I blamed it on I blamed it on anxiety and depression and all these external resources that were the problem. I was never the problem. It could never be me, it was everyone else. If you lived like I lived, if you had the family I had, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Until, my addiction started to progress and get worse. I never got a DUI and I never went to treatment, but my suicidal ideations continued and they got worse. When I was 30 was when I hit my bottom, when I was going to commit suicide, and something greater than me stopped me from doing it. And from that day in May 2016, I haven't had a drink or a drug since.
Yeah, I'm definitely familiar with that story. A lot of aspects of that actually. In college, we had one of the groups I hung around. We actually divided ourselves into two groups. One was called lungs, and one was called livers, for obvious reasons. And I was part of the liver group. So I'm definitely familiar with the situation of everyone around you drinks, so you think it's absolutely normal. It's not when you step away from it and look at it from the outside that you realize there's something really fucked up going on here. And it's not healthy at all.
And I lived my life like that for 15 years. Just like this is okay. This is what you do. It is not what you do. And but when you get in with certain people and you think that they create your self-worth or make you who you are, it's just the lies that I told myself, the lies that we tell ourselves for many, many years. It's bullshit, really.
So what made you get into drugs? Like what was that? What was it? The first thing that the thought process that came to your mind, if you can think that far back, of like, hey, let me try this let me try smoking weed. Let me try this joint. Let me try doing other things, pills and other things. Like, what was that progression like?
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I actually smoked weed. I was with my best friend. We've known each other since middle school, and like we grew up, right? Because I was 15 years old and I thought I knew the world. Oh, yeah. And we, this is so bad. We smoked out of a can, a Coke can, the old school way. Yes. Smoking out of a Coke can. Coca-Cola friends, I wasn't that progressed at 15, but and I was with someone that I had trusted, and I didn't think much of it. There were other people in school that were doing it, and it was just that this is what you do. This is what you do to fit in. I was with the person that I trusted the most at that time, my best friend, and nothing could go wrong. What could go wrong? Like you're just exploring, you're just, being a friend. And I don't know so much if it was that first instance that kind of flipped that switch for me, that I realized, it's lived in me my entire life. Only then did I bring it out when I started smoking. But it wasn't very long before I realized that I was smoking. I was leaving school to smoke. Mm-hmm. I was smoking before class. I was smoking in the mornings, and I would skip school and I'd go to my best friend's house and we'd be smoking in her backyard. Like it was just, I loved it. I loved any aspect of drugs and alcohol that would just take it away. And then after, weed, I met a boy, and he was going to change my whole world because I was 15, and that's what you do at the age of 15. And he had other substances, and and I resisted those substances for actually a very long time. The man that I was dating at the time, I found out that he had been selling drugs behind my back for many years. And I was like, how could you? You know, and then I ended up becoming something I never wanted to be. But it was just what you do. You know, when you're high, as much as people think like, oh, marijuana isn't, I won't get addicted. If you have a predisposition of addiction already and you have control issues, I'm sorry, but you can very easily get addicted to anything, just like exercise, food. Like, just because I'm sober doesn't mean I don't still have my vices today, right?
You just choose your vices now.
Exactly. And so when I was under the influence and I was high as hell from smoking, I mean, yeah, cocaine or a pill or whatever it was sounded good at the time to mix it. And then drinking and just... It is just a progression of, I want, the weed only worked so much. Well, then I realized when I paired it with this felt really cool.
Yes.
And then if I paired it with this felt even better.
Yes.
And then you just start mixing and matching, and before you know it, you're down. You're going down this spiral, and sometimes you just can't stop it until you hit a bottom.
So I find it fascinating that you said that your father was getting sober while you started on your own journey. Like, did that play any part in your thought process while you were going on your journey, or?
No. I was mad at him. I was like, how dare you get sober when I'm now able to drink? Like, why would you do that? No, it was because I was young and dumb, and at the age of, 18, 19, 20, 21, you couldn't tell me anything.
Oh no, you knew everything about the world, and you had it all figured out, right?
I sure did. I sure did.
Yeah, and your parents are these old people who don't know anything about the world.
I remember being really proud of him. I remember being so proud that maybe our family had a shot, because my mother is a saint. You know my mom.
She's awesome.
She has endured a lot with our family, and I was proud of my dad for doing something for someone else, right? And getting sober to help his family. But I was already so far in my own selfishness and self-centeredness and honestly self-destruction that I didn't even realize from years of abusing marijuana that I couldn't see anything else. I couldn't see clearly. The fog was still there, and I was just like, how dare you quit drinking when I start drinking? We were supposed to go party together, and my family was never like that, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
But it wasn't, I was just selfish for many, many years, and I still am to some extent. I think we all are to some extent.
I mean, it's important to be selfish
Sure.
in certain aspects because like it's a fundamental truth that if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people.
It is true.
So you have to start. So like I fundamentally believe that, I'm not saying everyone has to adopt this ideology, it's just me, is that everybody needs to be selfish to a certain degree and learn how to say no to things, because there's a lot of people who are they say yes to everything, and when you prioritize everything, you prioritize nothing.
That is true.
Especially yourself, and if you can't take care of yourself, just like a basic example is, say I'm moving one day and I need help moving a piano, and I give you a call, or Tony a call. Well, maybe Tony Caleb, because pianos are big and heavy. I mean, I know you're strong, but
they're heavy.
Yes.
Yes.
But but if they're weak and they can't do anything, well, they can't help me out, and
Right.
I can't help them back at if I'm like a piece of crap or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we be selfish. Now we can't be depraved selfish, and we can't be self-centered, but we have to be selfish to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And I think being on the path of recovery myself has definitely taught me that, because a lot of what you're saying is actually rang very true to me as well, as far as I thought I knew, I could run the world when I was 21. When I was 25 even, I thought I understood everything, and I look back at myself like, man, I was a fucking moron.
It's what we do. And it's through lived experiences, and it's through learning. And the only way to truly learn from our mistakes is to evaluate our experiences and be able to look back on them. And I understand we should not live in the past nor regret it. And I don't regret any of my past. I truly don't. And I don't live there, but I do reflect on it to have those learned experiences and evaluate what happened in that moment in time so I can make better choices today. Do I do it perfectly? Of course not. But I do try and actually leverage those experiences so I can do good and do better today.
100%.
Yeah.
So so what was the moment that where it finally clicked in your head that, hey, I should probably do something about myself, about my life, about the decisions that I'm making? Like, tell me about that.
So I met the man who is my now husband when I was 25, I think, ish. And he really taught me how a woman should be treated. I went from one bad relationship into another, and I've never been single I've never been alone, right? To like really work on me. And fortunately, my husband taught me the way a woman deserves to be treated. But in that, he drank like I did, and he let me drink the way I wanted to drink. So we manifested our relationship on alcohol. Ooh. Alcohol was our best friend. We were best friends, and it just came along for the ride in our relationship. And I got married at 28. And by the time and I say all that to say, from the age of 25 to 28, we were dating, we were having fun, we get engaged, and we start having serious conversations about life. Like, hey, I know that this is a problem. Like, I'm drinking way too much. I really want to try and quit, and he's saying, yeah, I really want to try and quit. But yet, because of the baggage that we both brought into our relationships, I'm carrying all these rocks of resentment and fear and hate and anger from past relationships and just life. And he would be trying to get sober, and I would have a bottle waiting for him. I would be at home wasted with his drink ready to go, and then I would be trying to get sober, and I'd go a couple days, and then he would have my shot in the freezer ready for me. And so we knew, like, it was bad. We would just constantly pull each other back down because neither one of us knew how to be okay with just us, right? Like, so that continued on for many years, and that was when I was like, this is really bad. And then that's when I was like, I'd go to sleep, or I wouldn't sleep, I would just pass out. Who am I kidding? And I would just pass out and just pray I never woke up. Pray to whatever higher power, whatever universe you want to say, like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to die. And I was so sick that I would have to drink. I would have to get sick. I would have to drink. I would have to get sick before I could actually hold down any alcohol. And it was a big problem. And this went on for probably 3 years, very heavily, from the age of like 27 to 30. And those suicidal ideations and those ideas of not wanting to live anymore just continue to pile on themselves. And I truly thought that I was starting to get wet brain. And for people that don't know what wet brain is once your brain essentially becomes mush and you can't actually live or function on just basic needs. You can't wipe yourself, you can't feed yourself, you can't. I would be driving and I didn't know which way was the right lane. I was starting to like literally lose my cognizance of just basic things. And that was when I knew it was really bad. And then the suicide, sort of attempts was shortly thereafter. And then I got sober.
And him too?
Him too. We're about 6 months apart in sobriety.
Okay. And you guys went through the journey together?
Together, and it's very difficult to be in a relationship with somebody who is an alcoholic, an active alcoholic, while you're trying to get sober. And then when you both get sober, you don't know anything about yourself. You don't know anything about the person that you married. You don't know anything. And so you're trying to walk a journey of sobriety. This person's trying to walk a journey of sobriety. You're trying to understand, are you even compatible? Is this, like, what is this? Because your best friend, alcohol, isn't there to mitigate everything. Mm-hmm. So now you deal and you feel, not just by yourself, with someone else who's also trying to deal and feel in a very different way. It's a very interesting dynamic, but we have made it through. We made it through early sobriety, and it is a beautiful experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like for the first time ever in both of your lives, you guys are actually like really self-reflecting and learning to understand, like, hey, this is who I actually am, like without outside influence, and mm-hmm. That's a really scary journey because just. For anyone who's ever, I've never had that experience, but like the closest that I can relate, you can tell me if I'm missing the mark by a mile. But the thing that makes me think about that is, like, the first time I tried meditating was a very weird experience because I didn't know what to expect. And when you quiet your mind and you let the thoughts come, and you try to not judge the thoughts that come, you get some really, really weird, crazy, wild thoughts that you didn't think were possible. But at the same time, you recognize that, hey, these thoughts are coming from my brain, and they've actually been there for a few decades now.
Yeah, and you think about when you're dreaming, the subconscious mind is phenomenal.
It's powerful.
People, and some people don't remember their dreams, some people do, some people might know flashes of it, everyone's different. But there are dreams that you have that are true subconsciousness of they mean something. And you're right, it is a very scary experience. And you hear people say, like, you don't want to live in my head. And I think everyone feels that way, like, yes. You don't want to live in my head.
Yes.
But it's a part of life, and I had to walk through those journey and those scary times and those uncertain times, which I think are even more fearful when you don't know what's going to happen. But if the pain is great enough in any situation in life, recovery or not, if the pain is great enough, you will persevere. You have more strength and more determination in yourself. Everyone does. They just don't realize it.
Mm-hmm. How are you doing these days?
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Phoenix is a phenomenal tool for me. I am still very active in 12-step. I do still go to meetings. I sponsor women.
Awesome.
It's not, life is what you make it. And I never realized there's a book out there called A Pair of New Glasses. And for a long time, I looked through a very foggy lens for a very long time. And it takes a long time. If you've used, or like I have, for 15 years, and I've only been sober 5.5 of those years, I still have a little fog in those glasses.
100%.
It still takes time to kind of clear away the wreckage of the stuff that you did. But the lenses that I get to look through today are so much more clear and beautiful, and I choose my peace and my serenity. I choose to look at the beautiful water and the palm trees and the beauty that's around me. And is there fear? Sure. Is there doubt? Absolutely. Do I know what I'm doing? Absolutely not. I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's okay.
That's actually really interesting, because that exact thought is what actually empowered me to start getting my life together, because I actually moved down here from DC, and like without a plan, like I didn't have a job lined up. I was gonna crash on a friend's couch, but I'm like, you know what, like I don't know what I'm doing, and then I looked at Elon Musk. I'm like, he just had a divorce. I look at Jeff Bezos. He just had a divorce. I'm like Bill Gates. Oh, he's going through one as well. And those are the three of the guys that society holds up as like the pinnacle of accomplishment, and they can't even hold down a family. And I'm like, oh man, if they don't know what they're doing, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I realized nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just making it up as we go along.
Yeah. And I believe that within all of us, there is this still small voice. Call it your intuition, call it, your higher power lives within you, whatever you want to feel. But your gut instinct, there's a lot of terms out there of what it is. But the same intuition you had to move down from DC and not having a plan, but it was still in your heart to do it, you got to follow that sometimes, because there is something there. And if you aren't, in the coin of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says, on one side, it says, to thine own self be true. And if I am not staying true to me and what's in my heart, I'm no good for anybody. And I don't know the next step or the next phase of my life. And some of the beauty of it is we don't get to see the future. But you took a leap of faith, and having that and having the strength to do that, kudos to you, because that courageousness is, people lack that, and they don't take that leap because they're so afraid of what's on the other side. But you won't know unless you try. And it's like, if you fall and you can look up, then damn, you can get up, and you can try again, because everyone, whether it's addiction or not, everyone has fallen. Everyone has failed at something in their life, but they're still here, and if they got through that, they can get through anything.
And they're going to fall again, because that's life. Like, you're going to fall at least a dozen times by the end of the year, all of us
True.
are.
Very true.
Yes. we're going to drop a barbell on our leg.
I already did that. Check for 2022. More to come, kids. More to come.
Awesome. Wow. So what's next for the Phoenix Tampa then? Like tell me about that. Like starting that, building it, growing it, how Caleb and Tony fit into the story, and
yeah. So it was myself just for 2019. And then we got some funding and we were able to hire a full-time staff person, which was Caleb, in January of 2020, just before the pandemic. And then we had to pivot. So we pivoted to a virtual platform like many other organizations. So now, even if you aren't in the Tampa Bay area or you don't have a Phoenix event that's right near you, you can log on and you can take virtual classes and still stay plugged into a recovery community, even if you're outside, the locale for us, which I think is beautiful to have those resources at your fingertips. I personally think in person is better, but that's because human connection is what I thrive on. Like I thrive on human connection.
100%.
And then Caleb has had a beautiful journey with the Phoenix, and he was able to get promoted and transition to a new role. And Tony has come on board. He started as a volunteer for the Phoenix, and he's now our full-time coordinator. So we are in Tampa about 5, sometimes 6 days a week, all around the Tampa Bay community, between Julian B. Lane Park to Ybor to East Tampa. And we're over the bridge in St. Pete now with at least rock climbing every Saturday, a couple yoga events sprinkled in here or there, maybe some book clubs. So we're trying to get more expansion into St. Pete. With our board, where we have a fundraising event that we're really trying to kick off and raise some funds so we can continue to diversify and expand programming. The whole impact is just create a movement, right? Like for those that struggle with substance abuse and addiction, I know for me, we have hidden behind the walls for so long. I owe my life to Alcoholics Anonymous, I really do. But you're behind closed doors. I personally believe my story, my journey, is I was given a second chance at life. And I don't intend on using that second chance to stay silent. I am a woman of grace and dignity. I am a woman of God, and I am a sober woman in this community. And I am okay wearing sober shirts. I am okay going out in the community and showing that there's nothing wrong with being sober. I have done some really hurtful things. And I have hurt people, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. And I think there's this stigma that there's something wrong with those of us that are in recovery. There's nothing wrong with us. We live and breathe just like anyone else because everybody has an addiction of something. And if you don't, you're lying to yourself.
Everyone does.
Everyone does. So in recovery, I have workaholic. I have food issues still. I am an exerciseaholic. Like, just be open-minded to know that no one's perfect. And so really at the Phoenix, what we're trying to do is continue to break down those barriers. There are so many people that suffer in the criminal justice space and, that might be dealing with treatment court or in treatment centers and sober homes, and maybe they never wanted to be there. And Alcoholics Anonymous and 12-step communities is not their path forward. But maybe the Phoenix is. Maybe they loved football as a kid, and they want to do like a flag football thing. Why not let them do what they're passionate about and create a community of safe and supportive and inclusiveness to show that recovery is possible? It doesn't have to be go to a football game and get wasted. We can go tailgate and be sober. We can go bowling and be sober. We can go to trivia and be sober. We can do all of these things that we never thought we could do out in the community with a bunch of other sober people cheering us on and just living a pretty freaking great life of sobriety.
And you know what? Like when you actually look at it objectively, it's even better that way because then you don't have to worry about people acting a fool or people throwing up all over the place and oh my God, how's he gonna get home? And then suddenly before you know it, I'm driving 3 people home and I'm hoping they don't throw up in my car.
You remember everything. You don't spend nearly as much money.
Yes.
You actually find out that you're decent at a sport when you're like, hey, I'm not wasted. I could actually play volleyball, or golf, for instance. Golf is a big one. I play much better golfing now sober than I ever did when I was drinking. It really is fun. It really is. And it's a great way to meet people, right? Like even for those people that maybe you're not in recovery, maybe you don't have a problem with drinking, but you know someone who does, right? Or you support the mission. Like, I'm just not a drinker, right? We have many people, many other people of our team members at the Phoenix who they just don't drink. They've just never drank. They don't need a program of recovery, but they've never. They're supporters and allies to the mission of what we do at the Phoenix, and we want those people to walk alongside us too. We want those people to come to events so they too can find a community and find a sense of belonging.
I mean, the way I looked at it is because I actually put some thought into that before about the allies, and the way I look at it is the community is just as much for them as it is for people who are going through recovery because even if you're not going through recovery, I'm willing to bet 95% of your friends are out there drinking.
Yeah.
And if you're not a drinker, it gets uncomfortable at times. And
yeah.
Just having a community where hey, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna do fun things, and there won't be alcohol, whether you're in recovery or not. Like it's just as much as for them as it is for people in recovery.
One of the biggest communities that comes to mind is our police officers and firemen and those in uniform.
Yes.
So if there's officers, TPD, Hillsborough County, whatever it might be, and they start coming to events and showing that they support the community, if probationees and probation officers come to Phoenix events and work out together, how beautiful and what example are you showing for the community that you support what this probationee is trying to do and get and stay sober, and the probation officer is doing it right along with him. Same thing, if you have put somebody behind bars and you're the police officer and you guys are meeting on neutral ground and doing a workout together, you start together and you finish together. There is no hierarchy. We are just people, and we were built for human connection. We were built to share in this experience so we can all just be one. And it breaks down a lot of walls if we can start doing stuff like that. So that's what I would love to see. All walks of life, everybody from, judges to police officers to incarcerated, just we're all the same. Just come together and try it.
Is that your call to action?
Yeah, I guess. Not as profound as I had hoped, but yeah, yeah.
I mean, no, that's still a very good one. I mean, one of my questions I was going to ask is, what drives you? But I think we've covered that thoroughly.
It truly is so deep in my heart. When I got sober and I had the privilege of finding the Phoenix, I mean, I knew, we talk in the rooms of 12-step about spiritual experiences. I knew that was my moment, right? Like you talk about blending the two things that I'm most passionate about, health, wellness, and fitness and recovery. Blending those two things together and truly helping people, I mean, that's what I'm here for.
That's a beautiful, beautiful mission. So I'm gonna just take it down a little bit, and because we do a lot of focus on like the good that we're doing and helping a lot of people, I want to know, like, if you, in your perspective, what do you think is the separation between the people who go through recovery and make it and those who don't?
Willingness and a bottom. So I have tried the rooms of 12-step for many years. I probably really started trying, at least entertaining the idea of recovery when I was about 23. But then there's 7-year separation before I actually got sober. And in those 7 years, I would dabble, right? Like I'd go to a meeting, be like, this is not for me, and I'd be out. But I didn't have the bottom that I had to hit, and I didn't have willingness. Those are the two things that I think, so if someone is sitting in treatment right now and they are there because they are told to be there, unfortunately, and I'm not saying it can't happen, I pray that they stay and it works, but we see it too often that people don't. They don't stay, or they don't make it, and it's because they have to have more willingness and they have to hit a bottom that's greater. You have to be broken. You really have to be broken. And I pray that people don't get to the state of brokenness that I had to go to, but that's just been my experience over these last couple of years of sobriety, of you really have to be broken.
That's really scary because it has to be a very specific, precise break, because if you break too hard,
oh yeah,
there's no coming back sometimes.
Even if you try the key of willingness, right? Like you hear more colleges are going towards sober dorms, and you have sober January, and you have these things that are starting to come to fruition in our culture. And if you find that and start down that journey, just keep trying it. Go through sober January, just see how you feel if you keep going in February. As long as you have a little bit of willingness and you can put that key in and turn it, the door will open. And you might find that being sober is pretty legit. Now, if you're not a problem drinker, then that's okay. But if you think you might have a problem with it, then just a little bit of willingness.
You mean like when you wake up Sunday morning and look at your credit card receipt and there's a comma in the in the total spent?
Or when you wake up on Sunday morning and didn't plan accordingly on Saturday and you have to wait until 11 when the liquor store opens because you can't buy alcohol on Sundays before 11 and you are very angry at yourself until 11 a.m. I went through that for many, many weeks.
Yes. There was, I think there was a 2-year period, like right before I hit bottom, where I spent more money on alcohol than I did on food. The food I was eating, like I would purposely eat less food so I could drink more. I was buying cup noodles. So I was putting the worst possible thing nutritional wise in my body so I could put the worst possible thing nutritional wise into my body in a higher volume.
You were just really dedicated to drinking.
I was really dedicated to running away from my mind. From my world, from my reality, and I was like, all right, well, I think my part was, if I'm drunk and I do something stupid, it's not my fault. It's because I was drunk, and I picked a fight with a guy about 100 pounds on me and 1.5 feet on me, and it didn't go well. He actually broke a bottle over my head. There's like a scar right over here. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of faded, but. Yeah, I was like, all right, I think I got issues here. Right.
Here's your sign.
Yeah, because when you're sober and you're trying to pick a fight with a guy who could bench press the Rock, that's you probably want to do that when you're sober, but when you're drunk, oh man, you're unstoppable till you aren't.
Yeah, absolutely, I love it.
All right, awesome. All right, so we know what's next for Phoenix. What's next for Brittany?
What is next for Brittany? I do the next right thing. The doors will open. I'm excited for my next journey and the doors that will open there. I have a beautiful family. I want to spend more time with my family. My parents had me when they were much later in life, so my parents are in their 70s already, which people don't realize. So I want to spend more time with my family, travel more. Traveling is really big. It's always been on my heart. And doing a little bit more work in the community. And I mean sponsoring more women, doing more, getting Phoenix out in the community more so it's in more locations, right? Like not just the ones we're in, but getting into those needed communities where people could actually use these resources more than where we already are. But for me personally, outside of Phoenix is just family and travel and do the next right thing. And I truly believe that it'll all work out.
Awesome. How far are you planning to take the Phoenix?
I don't know. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So the Tampa Bay area for sort of my locale with the board is kind of all of Pasco, Polk, Sarasota, St. Pete area. So I really want to get that whole sort of region up and running. And then if I stay in Tampa or if I move something more nationally, who knows?
Awesome. All right, all right, 3 more questions.
Yeah.
So if there was somebody in front of you right here, right now, and they're thinking about starting their journey, but they're scared, they're confused, Brittany says?
Hope. It means hold on, pain ends. And if they're really willing, sharing the resources, sharing all the knowledge of the things, the only way recovery works, like right now it's 2 people. All you need is 2 people, and that's recovery. And you can have, a conversation, and like this here helps me stay sober. So if that person just doesn't know, I share my story. And in me sharing my story, if they are willing, they will identify, not compare. They'll identify to the things that I say and not compare to the things that I say. And because of the work that I do, I work in the field of recovery. So I have all the resources. I have the detox centers. I have the treatment centers. I have anything they would need to get themselves on their feet. So if you're struggling, just have hope. Hold on, pain ends. And if you need the help, we'll get it to you.
What is it? Hold on.
Pain ends.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Where did that come from?
I heard it somewhere. None of this is from me. I have heard this from those that have gone well before me. Yeah. But that was I held on to that in early sobriety.
That's really cool, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, for me, it's I can't change it and I can't stop it.
Yeah.
There's things in my life that I can't change, so I might as well not focus on them. And the future is coming, and I can't stop that. But what I can do is I can position myself so that, whenever something big comes along, I'm ready for it.
You're prepared. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are just like my daily reminders.
I like it.
That I look at.
I have no tattoos.
Will you get any?
No.
Okay.
No. I like the fact that I'm one of the very few people that don't have any.
That's something that's very unique to Tampa, because I've lived up and down the East Coast now, and tattoos are definitely more of a niche thing in New York City and DC, which is where I spend most of my time.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't until I came down to Florida, to Tampa, but Tampa at least is very unique compared to those two cities, because it seems like more people have tattoos here than don't, whereas in those two cities, it's the other way around.
Well, we're a very diverse community too.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. 2 more questions. What kind of impact are you looking to have on the world?
So a big one. I have always felt in my heart, like, I love speaking. I really do. And I want to share not only my story with the world, but I want to hear people's stories. So everyone has a story, and I'm fascinated by stories. So I don't know in what capacity, and I don't know what God has in store for me, but it will be something in a way of helping others through speaking and engaging in a very real way. And I couldn't tell you what it looks like, but that's the impact that I have. And just hearing people's stories, even if it's just, I don't think I have the patience to be like a counselor. I really don't. But I do want to hear people's stories. And I don't know, but I do enjoy speaking very much.
Awesome. And if people want to find out more about you, how can they find out?
Yeah, feel free to reach out, bgarner@thephoenix.org. Mm-hmm. So shoot me an email, and Instagram at Rise Recover Live. You can see what's happening at the Phoenix. And if you are struggling, please just know you're not alone. Like, everyone had to start at day one at some point, and I started day one many, many, many times over. I've had a lot of day ones, and I would relapse, and I had a day one, and I would relapse, and even if it's not day one in recovery, everyone has a day one of a separation. Everyone has a day one of a divorce. Everyone has a day one of dating someone new. Everyone has a day one of a new job. Everyone's day one is going to be different, right? Mm-hmm. But we all have a day one, and we're all sharing this journey of life together. Just because our stages in life are different, we've all been through it together. So just know that if you're going through something, there's someone who's already been through it. So please reach out, because there are, resources, and there's communities out there, even if it's not Phoenix, just find a community.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. I don't care if it's Phoenix or not. It's just find something that is going to help you just be a better person. But you can always reach out to me. I am an open book, for sure. I live my life by that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rex. This was fun.
This was awesome.
Have a good day, friends.
All right.